Welcome back to Let's Make a Game. In this video, I will show you how to have background images. Last video, we talked about having background colors, but what if you want to have something more complicated in the background? Well, the best way to do that is to have an image, but you need to be careful. So I'm going to show you an example of a bad background image, and then I'll show you a better background image, and finally I'll show you the code that you need to make that happen. So here is a bad background image. Now, I should emphasize that it's not the fault of the person who made this. This image was not made to be a background image. You can see the problem, I suspect. Well, there's sort of two problems. One, even though that green is not very bright, it's still a little bit distracting from the text. But the thing that you probably noticed first is that the image is quite small and it doesn't fill the screen, and as a result the program tiles it, meaning that it repeats it to fill in the screen. But the right side of the image doesn't match up with the left side of the image, and the top doesn't match up with the bottom. As a result, on the boundaries of the images you have this quite distinct line, and once again it's very distracting. It makes it a little bit hard to read this text. The text, by the way, is describing some rules for what happens if you have both a background image and a background color command, which is that the image takes precedence, or what if you have more than one background image command or more than one background color command, in which case the one that's lowest on the list takes precedence. Let's look at a much better background image. So this is better in two ways. One, it's darker. The stars are, I think, white, but they're very, very small. They don't really interfere with the text. And secondly, it is what's called seamless, meaning that the right side matches up with the left side and the top matches up with the bottom, so that even though it's repeating, it's not very easy to see where that boundary is. It moves smoothly from one picture or one instance of the picture to the next. So finally, let's have a look at the code. Once again, we go into Story and Style Sheet, just as we did for background color. Once again, we have to do the body and the sidebar separately. So we have body and a set of curly brackets, or hashtag UI-bar and a set of curly brackets. And in both cases, we have this command, background-image, background-image, colon, space, URL, bracket. Note that there's no space between the URL and the bracket. That does actually make a difference. Quote. Then we have the name and location of the file. In this case, the file is just in the same directory as the program, so we don't need to put any location details. We just put betterbackground.png and then quote, end brackets, and semicolon. Once again, the semicolon isn't strictly necessary because we only have one command in this single set of curly brackets. If we did need to have a location, it would have the same format that we talked about in putting images into the main part of the display of the program. So if it was in a folder in the same directory as the program, you might put something like that, art/. If you needed to go up a level, ... and so on. And of course, the bad background has the same command except for a different file name. So you might be thinking, well, but what if I want to have a light background, and to make the text more visible, I'll have black text instead of white, so there's still that contrast there. Can I do that? Well, yes, you can do that, and I will show you how to do it in the next video. But I will leave it there for now. I hope that was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.